Hello, friends. I'm very excited. We have Dr. Suzy Ross here to talk about transformation, specifically about transformative travel today. And Darcy is going to read her bio.
Hello, everyone. I am so excited to introduce Dr. Suzy Ross today. Dr. Suzy Ross is a transformation scholar, practitioner, and founder of Integrate, a company dedicated to the science and practice of human transformation and integration. For more than 20 years, her research and professional work have explored how profound life experiences become lasting change. Her doctoral research led to the development of the Figure 8 model of transformation, a research-based framework that helps clinicians, facilitators, and wellness professionals understand and support preparation, transformational experiences, and long-term integration. This is such an important topic. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Going to hand it back to you, Michelle.
Thank you, Darcy. Suzy, where do we begin? Why
Mhm.
don't we start off by hearing about how you got into this type of work and this type of
Mhm.
research that you do?
Mhm. Um, so first of all, thank you for having me here. And it's so great to get to know you a little bit better. And happy to meet the folks that come here to this circle. Um, so where did I begin? I would say it began in the 90s when I was in my 20s, and I was leading backpacking trips. And even when I was a kid, just being out in nature. I just really, really love nature and exploring. My parents were really good at like taking us on long road trips across the United States to meet, to be in the places that I learned about in school. So I just did a lot of travel, and it wasn't fancy travel. We were in a car, and we saw the Mayflower boat, you know, that I'd read about and stuff like that. And so travel's been a place for discovery for me. And then when I became a professor, uh, I guess I guess it steps back. When I was when I was in travel experiences, some of them were very life changing for me. And like specifically, I led backpacking trips in Colorado, and I was 21 years old or something, and it changed my life forever. I had a really spiritual experience walking across the mountains, and uh, really kind of a transcendental experience. And I just have never really been the same ever since. So when I had to study transformation scientifically in my doctoral degree, um, I decided I wanted to study transformation through travel. So that's kind of
Yeah,
the big arc of why I chose travel and transformation together.
I love it. I love it. Um, so the name of your company, it's called Integrate, is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right there. Integrate. It's behind me.
She's got it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're on
I've got it behind me in my Zoom, and then there's the figure eight part of the figure eight dots there too. So,
yes, which we're
hmm
going to get to because I think that's a huge
hmm
piece of your work that helps outline what this all means. So, so you speak about it, you write about it. You mentioned earlier before we push record that you have a book that speaks about transformation. Can you speak a little bit about that?
yeah. So, I finished my doctoral degree in 2008,
Mhm.
and the doctoral degree, the dissertation research answered the question: how how do we how does integration happen? How do we integrate a life-changing experience into our body, mind, spirit, so that it's not just like something in our head or something loose around it, vague inside of us? Because if you think about a life-changing experience for you, every single person here has had a life-changing experience.
Mhm.
And sometimes it was a positive experience. like getting married or having, meeting a long lost friend or meeting a long lost relative or visiting the country of your origin. There are so many moving. So there, maybe getting your first job, but it also could be a negative experience. It could be a contracting an illness, a death of a loved one, divorce, childbirth could go either way. So we all have life-changing experiences. Maybe empty nest when the children leave your house, then you have another life-changing experience. So these life-changing experiences, some of them are humongous, and some of them are smaller. But these big ones have a long trajectory in our life. And when I was studying more than 15 disciplines to understand what the heck is transformation, anyways, it became very, very clear that there was very little to know about, or there was very little understood about integrating. How do you integrate the life changing experience into daily life? And so that was my doctoral research. And the question was, how do we integrate life changing experience, transformative travel? And so I put the call out to the alumni of my transformative travel to Costa Rica and Peru. And a small group of people, of alumni, I worked with them. We conducted the research, and that produced an understanding, a very holistic and detailed understanding of how transformation operates, and that it came to pass in the data that transformation is in a very specific pattern. It's in a pattern in the shape of a figure eight. The upper half of the figure eight is known very well over the last 100 years in science. And that's known best through the hero's journey. And so Joseph Campbell made that myth through studying of mythology for the thousands of years across culture and across the ages. He understood that life-changing experiences, and then anthropology also understood initiation. That's the upper half of the figure eight. It's the life-changing journey. But when you get home, how do you feel? I don't know about you, but when I come home from a life-changing experience and there's the emptiness and there's the same people and there's the same dishes and the same bills and the same relationships that have problems at work or wherever or in the family, and all these similar things in our lives, we return to that. And of course, there have been some books about that. After enlightenment is the laundry. You come home to the mundane, but how the heck do you integrate? And usually we could find that you're sad after it's over, regardless. There's a sadness that happens. But then what? That's about all that was really known. And so we conducted, and that wasn't even identified in the literature very much. And what happened is what we understood is that, in fact, integration is possible. Because at the beginning of our research, we had no idea if integration was even possible. Because you think about a really big experience, it's like, well, if you see God, how do you integrate that as a puny little human? That's very literally ominous. But what we found was indeed integration is possible, that it takes 9 distinct phases, and that what we learned at the end of our research, I'll never forget, we were all in Kayla's apartment, and it was a good sized living room with a carpet. So we were all kind of on the floor with big pieces of paper all over the floor. And we were in the final stages of, at least 9 different validity measures to make sure we had actual data that was refined and durable. And there was these 9 phases of integration on the big pieces of paper. And the top of the circle of integration was the words life-changing experience, transformation. right? Is the travel in our case. And I was sitting there, I'm like, huh, the top of this circle of integration begins when you come home from the life-changing travel. Like, we know this, right? Since day one. But I was like, the life-changing travel is not separate from the integration. The life-changing travel, the life-changing experience is interconnected with the integration. And so if we take the quote unquote hero's journey or the anthropological process of initiation, rites of passage, and you stick that circle and connect it to the integration circle, you have a figure 8. The upper half of the 8 is that life-changing journey. The lower half is the integration of that upper half. And when you arrive at the center of the figure 8, that's integration. And then you have truly transformed into a totally new person, but not just in your mind, in your what food you eat, how much money you make, the quality of your relationships, the health of your body, mind, and spirit, the beauty of your external environment. All of that matches the new you that you become when you transform. That's the figure 8.
Okay. I'm really curious about this figure 8, and I guess, I've talked with Darcy on the podcast about my travels. We've brought in other folks that facilitate transformative travel. We've brought in Zhao and Jake to talk about that. So I am curious about this bridge that you're talking about, that you're feeling all good, you're in this, you've created some transformation, some acceleration, and then you end up back at home. And how does it continue to ripple into your life? Now, obviously, I can share from an experience, strength, and hope, because that's kind of my jam. But I'm really curious what your research is saying and how people can do that um, on their own. So can you
Mm-hmm.
be more, break down this 8 that you're speaking
Mm-hmm.
a little bit?
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. So most of the process of transformation is organic. And in fact, human beings can transform completely unconsciously, which is a surprise. However, we can. We can actually move through the process unknowingly and transform to become a totally different person within our lifetime. In fact, we could do that. We could transform, 3 or 4 times if we're lucky. We live long enough and we're interested and curious enough and enough connected to our feelings that we can actually transform. There could also be some people who spend their whole life and never transform. They just keep going around the top part of the figure 8 and don't transform into a new person in their whole life. How can people help themselves to transform? Well, without knowing the figure 8, knowing the figure 8 is helpful because it's like a map. That's why my book is titled The Map to Wholeness, because transformation and integration result in wholeness. It also results in transformation, the complete transformation of a person and or a system, really. But how can you help yourself move through it if you don't know the figure 8? The biggest thing you can do is be connected to your feelings. Our feelings are critical. Why? And feeling our emotions and also being able to be with them to a certain degree, to spend a little time dwelling in our feelings, just the same way as we might sit in a hot tub and really enjoy the hot tub. And so the hot tub just is so relaxing, and it allows our body muscles and all the ligaments and everything to just relax and get warm. The buoyancy of the water helps us to feel a lightness and a levity, and yet a heaviness all at the same time. When we feel our emotions, when we digest our emotions, when we allow ourselves to be in our emotions like a hot tub, or thinking like a waterfall. We're sitting under a small waterfall, and the water's trickling from our head, or a shower down through the top of our head, down our body, and out down the drain, or a little waterfall coming through us and down the river. That is another way we can imagine feelings moving through us. Or if we were sitting in the ocean, kind of shallow, let's say, and letting the wave pick us up, and then the wave moving us through. And the wave moves the body, but also moves past us. And so when, like, for example, when a woman is giving birth, those waves, those contraction waves happen, and the body gets affected, and the emotion and the mind get affected, and then the wave moves through the woman's body. And so if we can start connecting to the nature of our emotion, its wave-like nature, its movement, its transitory nature, that if we can start to relate to it that way, that the emotion can be temporary, that will actually move the wheel of transformation. If we're looking at it, and it sounds very simple, and it's not like anything I just said is new. Modern psychology is based on this, but it's surprising how often we might not do what I just said. And so, you know, it's surprising also how we humans, including myself, can complicate things by bringing our mind into things and overthinking things as a time of avoiding our feelings. So if you look at the figure eight specifically, the lower half of the figure eight, the work engine of transformation is the lower half. If we don't do the lower half, we don't transform. Well, how do you do that? Well, the first thing that happens when you get home, the first major thing that happens from the life-changing experience, you get home and there's a brief time of disorientation. Displacement. I kind of want to go back to Portugal. That was really special. I had so much fun. I ate yummy food and met wonderful people, but I'm so happy to be at home. Yay, here's my pillow. Here's my food. There's a brief moment of bliss and like feeling out of place. Then we move into grief and denial. That lasts longer. Oh, I'm so sad. I want to go back to where I was. It was beautiful, or the people, or the food, and there's sadness. But there's also denial. If I just daydream about Portugal, I, I'm there. I'm not really home. And every moment that I can, I'm going to daydream about Portugal because darn, I just want to go back. And so there's this vacillation between being sad and wishing you were somewhere else. But denial, ask any psychologist, denial can only take us so far. Denial is a fantastic mechanism, but especially when we have this type of experience, not all trauma works this way. But when denial runs its course, then we go into disorientation. And disorientation is where we are wondering, how the heck am I going to change my life? Because the people in Portugal, they have more leisure time. They have more vacation. They have more time for like long food experiences. And they're countryside is more open and spacious and more time in nature, whatever it is that you really, really enjoyed about your life-changing experience or what it opened in you. Then there's a reconciliation. How do I do my life now that I've had this experience? And there's a time of experimentation. How do I change my life? And we try through linear cause and effect. Oh, well, I could change my diet. I could change my friends. I could change my primary relationship. I can go get a degree. I'm going to get a new job. I'm going to quit my job. And so there's all sorts of problem solving, of trial and error, trying to change your life to make it better. That's in disorientation. What's underneath that psychologically is an identity crisis. Who am I now that I've had this life-changing experience? After the disorientation phase is dismemberment. Dismemberment is exactly how it sounds. It's the dark night of the soul. It's the time when something happens and life falls apart. So for me, my most recent smaller dismemberment was at work. And dismemberment begins with an experience where it comes out of the blue. You're not expecting it at all. And it kind of sends you into this abyss of like, what just happened? And the bottom just fell out and I have no control. And what happened is shocking. At work, something happened. I've recently become the chair of a department at my university and a chair of the Department of Audiology, actually. And we have a small department, it's a doctoral degree, and we have a staff member to run the whole thing, right? The administrative workings, operations. And she abruptly left on medical leave mid-April. And I was like, I'm brand new at this job. And I'm like, I have no one to help me. I have no one to do 10,000 tasks. I have to now do somebody else's job and my new job. And it became extremely overwhelming overnight. And it's been pretty darn tough since April 15th. Now, for me, this is not, in the big scheme, this isn't a big crisis, but it was a smaller dismemberment that I'd share with you, that it was something that happens out of the blue, and it really causes pretty major disruption and kind of feeling like your life turns upside down a little bit, or a lot. The dark night, the dismemberment can last, some of these phases can last a couple years in the lower half. Dismemberment can often last 3 years, maybe 3 or 4. Then is surrender and healing. The surrender and healing phase begins with a very special moment. I don't have a lot of time to go into it right now, but your life presents you with this situation where you have to do something that terrifies you. But it's a choice where you have to do something that you would practically do anything to not do it. Like, you do not want to do this. And it's like, say certain words. It might be moving out of the house. It might be quitting your job. You might be saying some specific words to a person that you would never, ever, ever want to say. And yet your life is configured where you have no choice. Something great is at stake. And so you have to do it. And then if you can make it through that initiatory threshold, you move into surrender and healing. There's lots of experiences that happen in your life that are helpful to your body, mind, spirit. It's a breath of fresh air. The dawn starts to arise after the darkness. And those are the lower right part of the figure 8. That's the dark time of transformation. When you get to the bottom of the figure 8, the lowest part of the figure 8, that's called birth. When you birth the new self, then after that, the light of day really starts coming, and all that hard work of integrating in the lower right part, it all starts coming your way. in the abundance and creativity phase, where you get all sorts of opportunities in your life to do exactly what you're good at. And so you might create something that you've always wanted to create. People start coming to you and giving you opportunities, money, even cars, new jobs. There, all sorts of things starts happening to allow you to give your gifts, what you're good at, and what you've been becoming good at all the years while no one was paying attention. And then after abundance and creativity is the power phase. And that is when life settles down and you are recognized for what you're good at. And then the final phase of transformation, it's the 13th phase of transformation, is integration. And that lands you back at the center of the eight. And so in total, the upper half of the figure eight is 4 phases. The lower half of the figure eight is 9 phases, for a total of 13 to make the completion. So that was kind of a long version.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we might need to do another episode with you, Suzy. Um, I guess so. One of my questions, and then we'll pass the baton to Darcy, is so someone comes back from transformative travel, some kind of experience, some kind of retreat. And you are speaking about these 13 phases that we potentially go through. Where can we find more information on those pieces? Because obviously that would take, a full lecture, I'm sure, on your part. But maybe you could speak to like the first phase. You did mention some grief,
Mm-hmm,
some
mm-hmm,
shock. Uh,
mm-hmm,
what do you like? Do you have any practical recommendations for people in that initial transition back?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think your work is right on target, because there is a time frame where we can do something. And so when we first get back, I just got back from Costa Rica 2 weeks ago, and it was in a transformative travel wellness retreat with Surf Synergy. Um, and they do an incredible job of designing life-changing experiences that only 1 week. And coming home, people are asking me, and the first thing you can do is look at pictures.
Mhm.
Look at the pictures. Pictures are so powerful, right? They provide 1,000 words each one, or more, 1,000,000 words. And we can feel it in our body if we just really sit with those pictures. Looking at pictures can't be underestimated, and indulge yourself with them. You know, uh, a lot of times, I think on a deep level, we might feel guilty for lingering with something, but give yourself permission to linger with the pictures, and linger with the physical things. Like maybe you bought some shirts, put the shirts on. And if you got up in the morning and had specific kind of food, eat that. Go get the food. Go get what you ate there and enjoy the meal. Listen to the music that you heard when you were there, and allow it to transport you back. And we're so lucky now. When I first was doing this, social media didn't exist, but now we can we can talk with our buddies that we met, our new friends, and on social media. Do it. Allow yourself the indulgence of just reaching out. And what's really sad is that all these different, many transformative travel experiences that I've had over the last 20 years, most groups, the people that I found, easily 98% of people, for sure 95, are have a difficult time engaging the community, sharing with each other, reaching out with each other, talking to each other. And that's something that's going to have to become critical in all of this transformative travel and transformative guiding, is that we have to create containers for people to talk to each other afterwards that are safe, and so that people don't feel weird. Like, do I feel overly eager or needy or whatever? But the truth is, everybody's missing each other, everybody's missing the experience, but we're not talking about it. And so it's not easy to reach out. So reaching out to individuals make it a little easier, so that you don't run into the problems I just mentioned. And uh, doing some journaling, writing, drawing pictures, reflecting, meditating, paying attention to your dreams, writing the dreams down, um, reading things that are interesting to you that you learned about while you were while of your experience, so that your mind, give yourself some mind candy,
Mhm.
those kinds of things. I don't suggest getting a tattoo unless unless you're at a certain part of the figure eight. But and I also suggest resisting the impulse to want to go get another high,
Mm.
because the impulse is, when you start getting really sad, when is my next excursion? When is my next travel? When is my next feel good? When's my next high? If you can be with what we were talking about earlier, the feelings of discomfort, you're going to move yourself through your transformation rather than uh, basically truncating your transformation and starting over, which is what we do when we go up for the next high. Now, is it okay that you go back up to the upper half and you miss transformation? No problem, because you will, more than likely, at some point, you will evolve enough to go through a complete transformation. So you don't have to worry that if you've been seeking the high a lot, it's all right.
Mhm. Oh my God, I love this. This is so helpful to me, like in the integration component of the experiences I've had over the last 2 years. Um, the pictures and desiring community to speak to collaborate on, right? Because you learn all these things and you kind of want to be able to interconnect with the folks, and you wonder what other people are doing, as because you get so intimate and close with folks. So I do think that that's um, a significant piece. And I think it's also validating to people to know that, yeah, there's going to be a craving to want to go and uproot again, to get that hit, but to be able to settle in and to go through the process, that's where like the real change happens. And your suggestions were really beautiful, just in like really talking about the mindfulness of just pausing, and really thinking through the different things that you learned about, and getting into the kind of that creativity. I think that's a missing piece in a lot of the bridges with um, such great retreats that are out there, that create that transformative process. But then there's sometimes some missing, I feel like there's some missing links. So I'm so grateful to your work and to the words that you're putting to this, because this could be um, so healing for so many people that are spending so much time doing the work and then wondering, wait, do I need to do it again and again and again? Or, oh no, I can just stand still for a minute and give myself some,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm. It's really critical to transformation. Integration requires everything that's opposite or complementary of the life-changing journey. So
Mhm.
the upper half of the figure eight develops our masculine. It's action, it's outward, it's upward, it's really visibly sexy. It's like all these wonderful things that the world, the Western, the prevailing norms validate. But the lower half is about non-action, about going inward, downward, darkness, not sexy. It's very private. You're integrating. Almost all of us are in the process of integration, because the lower half is much bigger. So most people are in the process of integrating, and we can't tell unless we start talking about it. Well, this is actually what's going on, you know?
Mhm. Mhm. Darcy, do you have any thoughts about any of this?
Oh my gosh, I have so many. I've been taking notes over here. Thank you so much for your devotion to this research, Dr. Suzy. I know there's many, many years of dedication that has probably quietly been poured into this, and now we all get to benefit. And
Mhm.
I'm really excited to read the book and to look at some of what you have in the world with certification programs and different opportunities to learn about this. I'm thinking about how the one part of an experience can get so much attention. So the retreat, the wedding, the healing session, whatever it is, something that's in more of a like an encapsulated experience. Then the preparation that's required before, and then now the integration, right? What's required after can be really undervalued and ignored or judged. Just like, I don't want to do that part, right? Like packing for a trip might be kind of fun, but unpacking, not so fun, right? Like some people leave. I've been known to leave, half unpacked suitcase for a few weeks in my closet. Um, and just shining light on how each phase of the experience that helps prepare and also that kind of dismantles what was experienced is all part of the process that's required if we want to integrate. So what you were sharing about the feeling, I think in images. So I was thinking of all the like the prep and then the coming home and settling down and looking at the photos. It's like some of the things that might be less appealing for us as humans sounds like they are um, non-negotiable if we want to have the integrative experience. So suppose just for anybody who's very uncomfortable with sitting with certain feeling states, doesn't feel comfortable, doesn't feel prepared or capable to go through some of that, what would you suggest just for anybody listening who's like, I think I've been in transformation and I'm not necessarily moving through the integration, but I want to. What would be one invitation to start just leaning in that direction today?
Yeah. Okay. So the first thing is you're okay because you're probably integrating. Like we're so many of us are moving through integration and we just don't know it.
Mm.
And feeling your feelings doesn't have to happen 24 hours a day to integrate. We could speed the process. If anyone wants to transform faster, feel your feelings more. Be with your feelings more.
Mm.
Okay. That actually accelerates our transformation, becoming a totally amazing new life that you can't even imagine right now. Right. So just think about your life right now. If you're midlife, or even if you're in your 30s, you've transformed probably once. Just think about your whole entire life is totally different.
Mm.
Okay. So the thing is that think about feelings as eating a meal. I'll feel my feelings for a little bit. Like I'm going to eat this meal. It doesn't take that long. It can be like a happy meal, a fast meal for 10, 15, 10 minutes. You go through a McDonald's or whatever and it's a fast meal and you thank God you got to eat because you're starving and your body digests in X amount of time. Or you can have a super duper slow meal and you're still consuming the food and your body's digesting that food. So do you just eat a little bit at a time,
Mm.
have a small meal or a bigger meal. But the human digests emotions very similarly to digesting food. So you just think about it that like I'll have a little nibble of sadness. I'll have a little nibble of anger. I'll have a little nibble of this whatever feeling. I'm feeling jealous. And just nibble at it a little bit. Have a little bit. And then you get used to it. It's like, oh, okay, it's not that bad. I'll have a little bit more. And allow yourself to chew on it, to digest it, and then that's going to move you along. Think about it like putting gasoline in your car. The car digests that gasoline, gets you further along. So allow yourself to eat a little bit of your emotion. It'll get you further down the road.
Thank you so much. I think we will have to have you on again. There's so many more questions I have, but for the sake
Yeah,
of
I would
time.
love that.
Yes, I love this type of dialogue. It like blows my mind, and the simplicity of it and and some of the complexity. Like, I mean, you've said over and over again, feel your feelings, right? I mean, that is something that humans have a hard time experiencing, right? We're always trying to avoid, run away from, and how to actually walk
Mhm.
through that so that we can get to this transformative process. So thank you for once again putting words to it. That's what attracted me to begin with. Darcy, I know you have all of her info, so we'll definitely
Mhm.
have that written out for all of our people. Do you have any any last words you want
Mhm.
to share before we
Mhm.
here, Susie?
Mhm. Yes, thank you for the chance to say that. I do have some scholarly papers, if anyone's interested,
Mhm.
that I can give you some links. In particular, the one that's very accessible is the 2010 paper about transformative travel and the different types of transformative travelers. I talk about transformation in travel. It was one of the first papers written on that topic, and but I also have a paper about the Joseph Campbell and the figure eight that people might be interested in. Also, if you're a therapist, clinician, wellness worker, wellness practitioner, coach in any realm, I'll be doing some certification training specifically on integration, an integration retreat. So you immersively experience the whole figure eight preparation, the experience, and the integration, and you will experience it. And then it's followed by, if you want to get certified in the eight. But if you want to, I can just lead you through an integration retreat so it's up to you. The type of experiences, my website is www.suzyross.net, N-E-T. And it's my website is kind of a little outdated, but I do have the basics in there. But email me if you have questions.
We'll definitely
My
get,
so my so yeah my socials are Suzy Ross author.
yeah, we'll put
Um,
that all, yeah, it'll all be posted and we'll get the papers as well. So that'll be beautiful.
cool.
Thank you so much. Yes, appreciate you so much.
Mm.
Thank you.
Thank you both for having me and for all the work that you're doing to help other people and advance people in your lives.